Hey, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday night's workshop. I'm so excited to present to you guys tonight my friend Sarah Klein with Brandcake. You guys, I asked her a little while ago if she would be willing to come in and do some type of branding training or workshop with you guys here specifically because, like you guys, Sarah and I are both also small business owners, right? We are all kind of in the same world together. If you're a part of this group here inside of the social media training and strategy group, then you're here to learn how to grow your business using social media. And from one conversation that I got to have with Sarah about what she's doing with her company, Brandcake, I knew that I needed to get her in front of you guys because this woman, she knows her stuff. She has a passion for all things branding. And she's got a really beautiful way of helping us as business owners to really simplify what branding is and having a strategy. So I really want to be able to give her the opportunity to just kind of have the floor with you guys. I'll be popping in from time to time to ask her questions, to make this interactive. But as you guys are streaming in with us, if you have questions for Sarah, there might be some time here at the end of our workshop for you guys to do some Q&A, so don't hesitate to pop those in the comments. But at this time, I'll yield the floor to Miss Sarah here so she can introduce herself and get the workshop started. So thank you, Sarah, so much, and take it away, girl.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danielle. I am ready to throw up my slides for the workshop and jump in.
Awesome. Here you go, girl.
Thank you. Today's topic is how to create your brand strategy. And before I share a little bit more about me, is this you? There are lots of competitors in your space, including big name brands. Or maybe you know you sell something great, but customers don't quite get why you're the best option for them or what exactly you do. If that is you and you find yourself nodding along, don't worry. After this workshop, this is not going to be you anymore. Because in this workshop, we are going to learn a step-by-step process for you to figure out how you stand out, how you communicate your difference, and how these things can impact how you grow your audience. You might be thinking, wait a second, doesn't that sounds a lot like marketing though? Like I have a bunch of freebies I've downloaded that all talk about those same things. But what I really want to bring home in today's workshop is actually marketing is not the solution to those problems, because this also might be you. Even though you have all those marketing freebies downloaded, you've been to workshops, maybe you've taken some courses, you're trying lots of marketing techniques, but they still don't seem to be working to help you grow your audience. I've seen so many entrepreneurs who are in exactly that situation, and maybe that applies to you too. So, hello, I am Sarah Klein. I am a 3-time entrepreneur and a professional designer who went from launching a product line that only my boyfriend at the time would buy, that is a true story, to using branding, marketing, and social media to profitably sell month after month. And I've done it in a couple different businesses. And I'm the CEO of Brandcake, where with Brandcake, I create data-backed branding that speaks to your customers to help you grow your audience. And if you like what you hear today, please feel free to follow me at brandcake.biz on Instagram to just continue learning beyond this session. And in our session today, we are going to cover a whole lot, including branding versus marketing, branding design versus brand strategy, how to create your branding strategy, and we're going to walk through an example at the end, if we have time, with how Sophia Amoruso did it with a Girl Boss. Okay, so let's start off with branding versus marketing. And to explain the difference between the two, I want to talk to you about a hypothetical Friday night. So imagine it's a Friday night, it's not COVID, and you're single, hypothetically, and you're interested in meeting a date. So you think about, okay, I want to meet a guy who's maybe a little creative, passionate, athletic. I know I'm going to go to a salsa club. And you get all dressed up in your best dancing outfit. You know, it's really cute, but not too revealing. Like, you're not going to spin around and show your underwear when you turn, because we all know. I mean, I've personally been there before. My first time I went to salsa, big mistake. But anyway, you plan your outfit, you put on your makeup, you give yourself a pep talk so you have the right attitude, and you show up to the salsa club to really put your best foot forward, make an impression, and hopefully meet some folks who, or somebody who would be a great date for you. So, where is this story going? Marketing is the equivalent of you picking the salsa club, because marketing is where you are seen by your audience. Whereas branding is your attitude, your personality, your outfit in the salsa story. In other words, it is how you are perceived by your audience. And to really bring this home, I want you all to think about this right now. If you've been spending a lot of time on your marketing, why would you show up in the Friday night story to the salsa club with a sloppy outfit and a bad attitude? That is the equivalent of spending all your time on your marketing and your marketing channels thinking about, what are the Instagram strategies? How do I use Facebook groups, without thinking about your branding? And that is why I see so many entrepreneurs marketing not working. It's because they spend all this time thinking about where they're going to be seen by their audience, and they don't spend enough time thinking, how are they going to be perceived by their audience? So, as I've been kind of bringing home here, to start seeing the marketing results you're looking for, you need to put intention behind your branding. And before we create any logos or websites or designs, which I know a lot of people think branding is, we need to have a branding strategy that's going to tie in all the visual touch points together. Okay, so how do we do this? How do we create a branding strategy? There's 3 steps that I like to walk folks through. Step 1 is thinking about your customer. Step 2, consider your competition. Step 3, pinpoint your opportunity. So let's start with the customer. And I know for some of you, especially if you're in the entrepreneur communities, you may already have, an ideal customer persona filled out. And it may say something like this: my persona is women ages 25 to 32 in Dallas, Texas. That is not your branding strategy. That's not sufficient enough for your branding strategy. That is just demographic information. It's not specific enough, because the most important thing to identify about your customer is identifying customer mindset. So here's some questions that hopefully you should be able to answer about your customer. What are your customers' goals? What are their pain points? How do they feel before and after their problem is solved? Where and when do they encounter the problem? And what are your customers thinking and feeling when they are ready to work with you? So we can see what these questions all about mindset and context. If you think about, say, all women ages 25 to 32 in Dallas, Texas, there can be so many different types of women in that large demographic bracket that would have different answers to these mindset and context questions. So it's important to really focus on the mindset and the context, not as much as the demographics. Once you have a handle on your customer mindset and context, now you can go and scope out your competition. And I know it's really easy to get overwhelmed when you're doing this, because listen, I get it. It's not fun to check out what your competition is doing, especially if you're a small business and it's a crowded space or there's a big brand competitor out there. But I'm going to talk you guys through just a guided way of looking at your competition and how you can consider how your customer perceives your competition. You can look at reviews, ask folks who fit your customer persona to take a look at your competitors and walk through or answer these 5 questions when you're looking at your competitors. what does this business do? How does this business make my customer feel? What is the business's tone of voice? What imagery is used? And if this business were a person, who would this person be? What type of person would this business be? You may notice in here, there's nothing here about what is called functional benefits. In other words, let's say you sell t-shirts. There's nothing in here that's like, well, my t-shirt is made with ABC cotton and that person's t-shirt is made with DEF rayon. That's a functional benefit. That is a very tactical pro versus con advantage or disadvantage on your product versus a competitor's product. And that actually is not so important when you are creating your brand and your messaging about what your business does, because this is how buying things work. We feel, and then we buy, and then we think to justify it later. And it happens so fast, it can often be subconscious. But if you focus on these questions which help orient emotions rather than the functional benefits, then you're going to start being able to tailor a strategy that is emotion-based and speaks to that subconscious rather than the functional or the logical basis, which actually it follows what people's emotional decisions are. So, okay. And step 3, we've thought about customer mindset and context. We've analyzed our competition using those 5 guiding questions. Now it's time to see where is your business's opportunity to stand out against your competitors for your customer and their mindset and their context. So your goal here in identifying your opportunity is to get your customer to perceive you as meaningfully different and better than your competition. So this is the exact same thing we looked at when we were considering our competition. And now, as you can see here, what I've done, I have the same exact 5 questions. I have row 1, competitor 1, row 2, competitor 2, row 3, competitor 3. And in your final row, after however many competitors you analyze, you can have your business's opportunity. So this is what I spoke about earlier before, about there's nothing in here about functional benefits or functional advantages because you're really going for emotions here. And whatever you see kind of floating to the top in your opportunity section, that is actually your branding strategy. So I'm going to give you guys an example here with Sophia Amoruso and Girl Boss. I don't know if has anybody in the room heard of Girl Boss or Sophia Amoruso?
Yes.
Okay, Danielle.
Front row, big hand, definitely have. Definitely have. When you told me in the email that you were going to talk about her, I was like this. I was like, oh, yes, use this example, please.
Awesome. Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know who Sophia Amoruso is, she is a woman entrepreneur who she did not go to college. She is not a college graduate. She ended up building from scratch a huge clothing business empire. It started out with her selling vintage stuff on eBay, and then it grew into a huge business called Nasty Gal. And from Nasty Gal, she went on to build another company called Girl Boss that's now a professional network for women entrepreneurs who are millennial and probably a little bit Gen Z as well. And she actually just left that position, and now I think she's just doing her own thing as Sophia Amoruso, the business influencer. But anyway, the thing that really kicked her as Sophia Amoruso into the stratosphere was she wrote this book called #GirlBoss in 2014. So thinking about, and I'm going to kind of anchor this example around the book #GirlBoss, which was all about Sophia's experiences as a female CEO with her background. In 2014, it's about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, let's think about what was the mindset and context of creative women in their 20s starting their careers and struggling to decide on a path, because that's really that customer profile is Sophia Amoruso's target, and it's really who the hashtag Girl Boss book speaks to. So thinking about, it's 2014, you're a creative woman in your 20s, maybe you've just graduated college, or maybe you didn't go to college, you're trying to figure out what to do with your life. What do you have on your mind? You don't want to go into a corporate office and, sell your soul into a career that you're not passionate about, but you also don't really know what options are out there for you. So I did a little competitive, I didn't go full deep for this example, but I'm showing you guys high level. That was step one, thinking about the customer. Step two, thinking about your competition. This was Sophia Amoruso's competition for providing career and entrepreneurial advice. I have a screenshot here of a Harvard Business Review cover from 2014, and the thrilling title of a presentation that is with love from HubSpot, called the career advice for the class of 2014. So thinking, putting ourselves in that shoes of the 20-something-year-old woman in 2014, I mean, you can kind of see how there's a lot of opportunity here to speak to that woman better than Harvard Business Review and career advice in 2014 was doing at the time. And just to really hammer that home, here's an example of my competitive analysis matrix. So just looking at even those two screenshots and knowing what I know about Harvard Business Review, what do these businesses do? Well, they're providing complex business advice to established, probably older male executives, to be quite frank, in 2014. And it looks like HubSpot's about to give some pretty outdated career advice based on the title of this deck, the fact that it's with love from a corporation, and in this kind of pretty visually drab design.
It's a huge turnoff. Like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, wow, this is boring. But you know what? I remember during this time frame, I was getting my start in marketing and advertising. And I remember like stuff like this, getting my start as an entrepreneur and being like, this is so boring. Right? Okay, keep going, because I think I know where you're going with this. Keep going. This is exciting.
Yep, good point, Danielle. Thank you. And, putting ourselves in the shoes of somebody, of a young woman who is trying to figure out her career in 2014, how do those competitors make her feel? She probably feels misunderstood, invisible, not heard, illegitimate, maybe an imposter. Like, why do I, if she had even been considering entrepreneurship, why does she think she can talk about, the big lie of strategic planning, whatever that means? Maybe she feels lost, confused, and disempowered, and like all of this just really isn't for her. What is the tone of voice? It's corporate, stale. It sounds like it's for a very educated audience, especially for the Harvard Business Review. The fact that the word Harvard in there, Harvard is like the place of higher education. So it's really handbrake code, like, for educated. Even the fact that this is called for the class of 2014, it's like that sounds like you've graduated from somewhere for that to be for you. There's words like marketers, globalization, words like advice. What imagery is used? Flat infographics, drab colors. And if this business were a person, who would it be? In my opinion, kind of sounds like an aloof uncle, grandpa or dad, kind of like an older man giving you their unsolicited opinion, to be perfectly honest. And if you really want to do your branding well, you can, of course, start out with your own hunch, like I did for this example, but of course, you can also, there are different techniques to be able to ask your audience these questions so that you actually have their real opinions as data informing their perception of your competition. But that is beyond the scope of this workshop. So Sophie Amoruso, I wasn't there when she wrote #girlboss, but perhaps she was thinking that there's an opportunity. What might her business or her book do? Share something inspiring and personal that's a story with lessons, but also encouragement. There's an opportunity to have these young women feel empowered, seen, acknowledged, and in control. Instead of corporate and stale, there's an opportunity for her voice to be approachable, funny, and honest. I looked at some quotes from the back cover, and from the first few chapters, there's words like girl power manifesto, a sentence called, "The concept of success is really weird." You probably wouldn't have that sentence published in Harvard Business Review, but you have it published in Girl Boss. What imagery is used? We have a photo of a human, of a person who is stylish. She's young, she's a woman, she also looks professional. And then as Sophia continued to build her brand and her businesses, you can see in Girl Boss, you can see in Nasty Gal. On her Instagram today, it's all of a funny, personal, but also extremely fashionable woman. And it's of her face and of other women's faces. So, and if Girl Boss was a person, who might it be? Your older sister's funny friend who treats you to great stories and advice over coffee. So there's opportunity in how can you be different from the status quo. And Sophia with Girl Boss did a great job at identifying the opportunity to be different, and she went for it. And it was a huge success. And here's the wonderful thing with if you really nail branding. With her branding strategy, over the past just 6 years, Sophia has built a following and a legacy that goes beyond a single business. Kind of like I shared before, she started with Nasty Gal, which was a clothing company. She wrote this book called Girl Boss, which then became the company Girl Boss. And now she's left the company Girl Boss and she's starting her own business as just Sophia Amoruso, the business influencer. And I think she's just launched her first course for women entrepreneurs. So that's the power of branding. You build an emotional relationship that resonates with your audience. And that is much more powerful than any marketing platform. It's marketing platform agnostic. It's even business agnostic. So here's just some examples. After she wrote #GirlBoss, she made the Girl Boss workbook. There was a Girl Boss Netflix show about her. And as you're looking at these images, you can kind of see how the imagery here is, even though they're different touch points, it's still a very, the imagery makes cohesive sense. You can tell this is all a part of the same brand. This is a screenshot of the Girl Boss homepage today. Like I said earlier, the imagery being used is of stylish young professional women. And this is also from Sophia Amoruso's, I think she just launched this really recently, a course called Business Class from her website's homepage. So those are just some visual examples. You can see some of the identity there. So that was really fast, but I hope that helped some of you guys, because that really is the very foundation of how to create a branding strategy, and it illustrates why it's so important. But here's the kicker. A strategy is not enough, because once you have your branding strategy, you now need to translate the branding strategy into branding design across touch points. Touch points is anywhere that your customer is going to see or interact with your business. So it's translating that strategy into your social media templates, your logo, your website, your marketing materials, any designs your business needs, even your customer service approach. Like the customer service for Harvard Business Review is probably very different than the customer service for Girl Boss, So that is just something to keep in mind. And if you need help at any point with, branding strategy or design, you try out some of this, you want to talk further about it, or you're like, Sarah, I don't know, I still have some questions that I need to think through when it comes to applying this to my business, let's talk. I would seriously love to chat with you and brainstorm with you to help you out there. So here's a link where you can schedule just a free 30-minute call to get any support that you need when it comes to your branding strategy, and your branding design. Here's the link, calendly.com/brandcake/30 minutes, but hopefully there's a place to put that somewhere later.
Yeah, I can add that definitely to the caption for the video for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, Danielle. Mm-hmm. And with that, does anybody have any questions?
So I just loved, like, we got a couple of comments. There was someone said, yeah, that definitely looks boring, talking about the Harvard Business Review or whatever that was. And it's just so interesting. Like, as I said earlier, when I kind of interrupted you, like, oh, you can really see, even just in like the female entrepreneur space over the last handful of years, like, I'm largely attracted to content that is out there that's like the Girl Boss brand, right? Or like Brandcakes, like what you've created. And because I fit that. I myself, not college educated. I kind of just, this whole entrepreneurship thing kind of popped in my lap 7 years ago. But I've always known that I've wanted more. And all of these brands, your brand, Girl Boss, all these other brands that are out there, like, they speak to my needs, if that makes sense, you know, as a consumer. A couple of things that stood out to me that I want to make sure people heard was this statement that you made under the customer section. You said a customer mindset is what needs to be identified, right? I'm going to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole really quick, but I just recently watched the Netflix movie called The Social Dilemma, and it really is interesting to hear the engineers that created all of the social media platforms that we use today talk about how it's really people's own behaviors and interests that are driving what they're seeing on their cell phones, right? The way that the algorithms were created. Because when I worked for agencies, Sarah, I would get calls from my small business clients saying the algorithm changed on Google, so I'm no longer on page one. And that was probably valid in 2014. But today, the whole system is actually driven by people's behaviors, their interests, the things that, so it's important to know, like you said, how a customer thinks, what their mindset is, because then you can get to identify who they are as a person, not, like you said, just their demographics. I want to make sure everyone heard that when she said that, because that was that's a big differentiator between the marketing and branding piece. And I do mostly marketing, right? So it's like, I need to remember what Sarah just taught us. Any extra thoughts on that statement there, Sarah? Because I think that was a big takeaway for me from this workshop.
Yes, I do have another thought about this, and I hope everybody here remembers what I'm about to say here, which is, because I hear that all the time, even today, like, maybe it's not the Google algorithm, but, oh, the Instagram algorithm changed on me. But I'll bet you every single person here can think about probably 5 Instagram accounts that they could change their account name to Swahili and you would still find out a way to find them because you love what they're posting so much and you love what you have to say so much. Like, so, and that is the difference between marketing and branding, because those accounts that you love, they have created a brand that speaks to you so much that it doesn't matter what the social media channels are doing. You're going to go out there and find them.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. So good. Okay. The next thing to make sure, guys, is that when Sarah was breaking down the 5 guiding questions, looking at kind of your competitors, it is not to compare your business to another person's business. Okay. It's not a comparison thing. It's to look for, that's why it's those 3 steps. So what happens when you bake a cake, right? If you've got to follow the recipe in order or something gets jacked up, that's usually my fault. Okay. They're like, mix all the dry ingredients together, then mix the wet ingredients and then put them together. That's where I mess it up. I'm like, 1 giant bowl is less dishes. Okay. Follow the steps here. Customer identification of mindset, asking those 5 guiding questions about your competitors so that you can identify what the opportunity is for you to stand out. I loved that because it can, in this world of social media marketing, especially for small local business owners, to immediately look at, well, I'm using nylon and they're using spandex, so that's why mine is, like you said in your example. And it doesn't come down to that, because I'm not buying stuff off of Instagram ads that get flashed in my face during a quarantine because of this value, this quality versus this. It's the imagery that's speaking to me, right? And they cater it to me. If that's the difference, you guys. So not comparing. Do you find that still, though, Sarah, when you're working with your clients one-on-one or in these types of environments, when you're going through that matrix, like, your clients still tend to like compare their business, where they're answering those questions in that comparison mindset?
Yes, 100%. Because I think, as business owners, we all do it because we've built our businesses from the ground up. We know what's going into what we've created, and we have pride in that. Like, we've made choices behind that we do think are better for our products, and that is totally valid. But the thing that is going to get people interested in coming back over and over and over again is not those like functional benefits, very rational type things. Like, I'll give you another example that is really powerful is Nike, the shoe brand. Back in the 50s, when Nike's was first existing, Nike's was this little tiny shoe brand, and all the shoe brands had ads with track athletes. And the track athletes would go, I love this shoe brand because of the grooves in the sole of the shoe. I can run 0.2 miles faster today. And like they would talk about things like that, like the groove of the shoe, the shoelaces, the shape. Those are all very functional benefits. And then what ends up happening is everybody starts talking about, it's like, well, you have grooves. I have these types of grooves. Oh, you have that shape. Well, I have this shape. And then it starts to become very minutia. And then that means that you're not, like, if you're going on those factors, you're not standing out from your competition.
Yeah.
And the way that Nike really blew it out of the water is they identified this narrative, this story that is so compelling in the American context, and that is that of the underdog working hard and beating the odds. And when they started having commercials that showed, athletes from underserved backgrounds practicing day after day, saying things like, just do it, and then like winning gold medals and things, it was that story, that emotional story that actually has nothing to do with shoes. That is what captured people. Yeah. So I love that. I love that example personally.
That's a great example. Have you seen the movie What Women Want with Mel Gibson? And he's able to read women's minds. They come up with, in the movie, the slogan for Nike's Just Do It. And it's not about, because like in the marketing think tank, they're in the movie, they're like talking about what you said, the functional aspects of the shoe. And then he can read what the woman's mind is. So like in the room, so he's now, anyways, Mel Gibson's character goes then to what the woman's thinking about running in these shoes. And he's like creating this brand narrative. So anyways, that's just a little clip from What Women Want with Mel Gibson. It's like a late 90s movie. Made me just think of that. Okay, and the final point that I wanted to just make sure and bring back up for everybody, and you hit on it again, but this is key, is that pursuing how your not your marketing, but the message that you're putting out with the touch points, like you talked about, that needs to invoke the emotion. That is going to be the thing that brings people back. Like I wrote down at the very beginning, a thought that I had coming into this workshop was, as a small business owner, creating a branding strategy, it seems easy when you only look at it as colors, logo, and the types of graphics that you use. But so then the focus gets put on the marketing, like making sure that people are seeing it. And then as a marketer, I get a lot of kickback that's like, well, I need you to show me the return on investment. This doesn't feel like my engagement's going up. Like that's the number one question that people say when they come into this group that they're struggling with social media is they're not getting engagement on their social media posts. And I want you guys to understand that what Sarah is telling us is it's because the branding is not connecting with your audience. But the branding strategy piece actually is a lot more complex than the marketing side of things, because you have to take your eyes off of your business and the fact that you need to bring in revenue, and you actually have to start to think like your customers think. That takes a lot of work, which is why it's so important to work with someone like Sarah, because she's in that mode 24/7 and she can guide you into creating what that branding strategy needs to be. This is one area of business, you guys, that I am hands down, like, I'm a huge proponent of. You need to you really need to work with somebody like a Sarah to get that aspect of your business done, because you will waste months trying to come up with this customer, in your head and their mindset, because you're going to be distracted, so that's my plug for Sarah, you guys, is branding strategy. You need somebody's outside perspective where they potentially could be your ideal customer. They always have a consumer's hat on. They're not living and breathing in your business, where she can help you walk through how to build out this strategy. So I just wanted to leave them with that little plug for you, because I think that that's important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And thank you, Danielle.
Of course. Well, guys, this has been freaking awesome. So let me pop a couple things back up here. So I think you said the best way to connect with you is through Instagram, right? So people can connect with you there.
Yeah, that's a great way where if you just want to keep getting some mini lessons, mini trainings, I have my Instagram account. That's one place to keep learning. But what I would really, if anybody is interested, if anybody wants to talk specifically about your business, for this group, I would love to talk face to face with you. Like, it's, with Instagram, it's harder to do that. So I believe I did put my calendar, if I can share it again, or maybe Danielle, you have it.
I'm going to pop it. Yeah, I'll pop it up here real quick. Yep. Let me grab it. I'm actually going to share my screen and just pop it up here for everybody. Let me see. Here's what her Instagram looks like, guys, just so that you don't get confused on which one is hers. And then right there inside of her business profile is, oopsies, I clicked the button, is her link to book that consultation call with her, which is so awesome that you're willing to do that, because time is valuable. So this is her stuff. I love all of your stuff. It's seriously the cutest. Oh my gosh. I love it. So great. Awesome. Okay. Well, Sarah, again, thank you so much for your willingness to come in and share your immense knowledge with this group. And guys, reach out to her if you have any questions. Get that free consultation call going. And Sarah, I hope to be able to invite you back in the future. I think that would be really wonderful.
Definitely. I would love to. Thank you so much, Danielle. And thanks everybody for coming.
Yes. All right. Bye, everyone.